Hi everyone! Today I'm going to share with you how to grow watermelon vertically on a trellis. Watermelon is such an amazing summer fruit to grow. It's cool and refreshing on a hot day, but it can be a huge space hog. So the key is grow it up, not out, and save yourself a ton of space. So we're going to actually redo this entire area here, put in a new trellis, plant some watermelon plants and seeds. It's going to be a fun video, so stick around. Now, do you remember one of the very first videos I posted on YouTube was me harvesting a giant orange watermelon? I know a lot of you watched that and started growing watermelon with me. Well, this year, in memory of that video, I'm actually going to grow some full-size watermelon on this trellis. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to show you how to support it and do all that kind of stuff. But the nasturtiums have got to go. Now, it's kind of sad, but we're expecting 90-degree temps this week anyway. There's something really satisfying about pulling out old plants. I don't know what it is, but it's just the thought that we're starting with a clean, fresh slate. So I've got my sharp little Hoselink pruners. I love these things. They're kind of cool because they're heavy duty and functional. Plus they're pink, so you can't go wrong with that. So I'm just going to start clipping the nasturtiums at the base. And I'm going to be careful. I've got a tomato plant already growing here on this ladder mesh trellis. We're just going to start pulling everything out. Oh, here we go. This is kind of painful, clipping out the nasturtiums. And look at all the seeds that the nasturtiums drop. So the nasturtiums will reseed from year to year. You can actually eat the seeds too. You can pickle them. They're kind of like capers. These are all cool weather flowers and plants here. It's 90-degree weather coming up in the next few days. They are not going to make it anyway. Look at all these nasturtium seeds. I'm actually going to gather them up. These can be replanted again. Tons and tons of seeds in here. Out with the trellis, we're going to put a much sturdier one in that the watermelon can climb on. This trellis has served us well, though. We've had it in here for several years, growing cucumbers on it. So we'll use it for something else in the garden. Always good to repurpose. Next step before we amend our soil and get it ready for the watermelon is to get all this mulch out of the way. Now some of these are wood chips that fell down from the pathway. Don't want those in the garden bed. We're going to start over with some fresh mulch. And then we'll be ready to add our compost. Now when you're planting again in the same garden bed, you definitely need to amend the soil. And watermelon is a very heavy feeder. So I'm going to pull out the drip line, add in some good stuff like the compost, the worm castings, so our watermelon has lots and lots of brand new nutrients. And we'll be putting the drip back in after we mix in the nutrients. The first thing I like to add when I'm refreshing my garden beds is compost. Now this compost we made right here in our own backyard. I wish you guys could smell it. It's nice and black and rich. Oh, I just love the smell. So we're going to heavily amend this bed with compost because watermelon loves a lot of compost. Mixing in a couple of inches of that. I'm going to mix in several handfuls of the vermisteria worm castings. These will bring in more worms, help loosen up the soil, and help keep my plants healthy. One nice thing about growing in raised beds is you don't have to get down on the ground to do this. So we're just kind of twisting and turning and mixing our compost and worm castings into the top few inches of the soil. Now I've been growing in this soil for many years, so it's already nice and loose. Pretty damp too, so it's really easy just to turn over just a little bit to work that compost in. You can see there's still little bits of eggshell in the compost. It's one of the last things to break down, but it's no big deal. It'll break down over time and continue to add good nutrients to the soil. Now if your soil's a little bit dry at this point, you want to mix in some water until it's nice and moist. This one is pretty wet. Next thing I'm going to add is decaf coffee. Not really. There's actually granular fertilizer in my coffee can. And I like to add a balanced granular fertilizer. It's a nice slow release fertilizer. So it has a balanced NPK, which are the 3 numbers you find on the back of your fertilizer bag. And this will release to the vegetables over the next couple of months. Feed them and really get them going. So just sprinkle some on the top. You don't have to be exact and measure. Then I just kind of mix it in with my hands. Always feels good to get my hands in the soil. So I'm just going to kind of even things out and we'll put the drip back in. Last step for the garden bed anyway is to reinstall the drip irrigation. I love using drip irrigation because it gets the water where your plants need it the most, right at the roots. Super important for water conservation also. It's going to save you time, save you money, and it's great for the plants. I'm using the 6-inch landscape staples. Had some people ask me what size staples I use, and these work really well to hold the drip into place. Just go a little bit deeper in the soil. And this is the 1/4-inch tubing with the emitters already in the tubing. They're spaced about 6 inches apart. Before we get our plants in, I'm going to install the trellis. I love this trellis. It's so easy to make. You guys might remember we installed this also in our brand new raised bed. This trellis is in my new book, The First Time Gardener Raised Bed Gardening. It's very sturdy and it'll be perfect for my watermelon. So it's about 6 feet tall on each side, which will give my watermelon about 12 feet of space to climb over, up and over the edge. You have to go back and check out our trellis video for how to make this. Now, watermelon are very large plants. They love to trail and climb. And when you grow them vertically like this, if you don't normally have the space for watermelon, this is the thing for you because you're growing up. Otherwise, they'd be sprawling all over. But this is one reason why I'm leaving a little bit of space in front of here free, because once they crawl up and over the trellis, they'll have a little bit of room to spill down the side. Now, what I like to do is plant both transplants and seeds, just in case something happens to my transplants. They get eaten up by a critter or something like that. I'm going to pop in a couple of seeds right here along the drip line. And then we'll probably go back later and thin things out once I find how they're growing. There's 5 varieties in my melon seed collection, 3 types of watermelon and 2 types of cantaloupe. So it's a really fun seed collection. Now I remember back when I harvested that beautiful orange watermelon. That was so much fun. And I'm super excited to have full-size watermelon in the garden again this summer. Now our watermelon are ready to harvest about 90 days from planting the seed. So with the transplants already in here, it could be ready in about 60 days. But the seeds should pop through the soil in just about a week or so. And again, I'm just kind of planting these for insurance. We'll go back later and thin these out because really 2 watermelon is sufficient for this space. I'm just going to pop in a couple of the Jubilee seeds. And I'm putting them right next to the drip emitter. Whoops. Hang on. Putting it right next to the drip emitter. And then just kind of poking it down in the soil about a 1/2 inch or so. Now I do want to water in my new plants really thoroughly, so they really take off and have a lot of good growth. I love using fish fertilizer. It's readily available at most garden centers. It has a 5-1-1. The 5 refers to the nitrogen, which you want things to take off with the nitrogen, get a lot of green leafy growth all at once, which is what nitrogen does. So I add that in my watering can, and then a couple of squirts of the Vermistera Vitality. Man, do things ever grow well with this stuff. The plants absolutely love it. I'm going to water, drench down the soil, water at the base of the plants so they really get a nice good drink. Now the nice thing about the Jubilee variety and the Charleston Gray is they're both heirloom varieties and they're disease resistant, which will help us grow lots and lots of watermelon. They're kind of elongated varieties with nice deep red flesh. So sweet. Oh, I can't wait to taste it. We'll water in the seeds. You want to keep your soil nice and moist until your watermelon start to develop fruit. And then you can kind of back off on the watering. Let the soil dry out just a bit in between waterings. But we'll definitely be bringing you along as these babies grow and of course as we harvest them. And I'll give you lots of trellising tips too on how to support the watermelon as the fruits start to develop. Last step, and extremely important, especially here in Southern California with all the extreme drought we're experiencing, is mulch. Now mulch really helps cut down on your water usage. So we all know how important that is right now. I'm mulching everything very heavily this summer, 3 or 4 inches of shredded leaves or straw, so you don't have to water near as much. Their soil just stays moist so much longer, and it's really a critical component of the garden this summer. And the shredded leaves will also break down over time, adding really good organic matter to the soil. And leaves bring in the worms like crazy. These watermelon plants might look small now, but they are going to grow fast in the beautiful California sun. Well, comment down below. Let me know if you'll be growing watermelon with me this summer. Make sure you subscribe for tons of more watermelon tips, and grab my book, The First Time Gardener, Raised Bed Gardening, so you know exactly how to build this A-frame trellis. It's all in here step by step. It's really easy and fun to build too. You'll also want to grab one of my melon seed collections so you can get your seeds planted. And use the code WATERMELON for 20% off this weekend over at CaliKimGardeningHome.com. That sale applies to everything site-wide. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.